You're listening to The Blair Bitch Project, where we set the record straight on the narrative, the regressive left, and the mainstream media try and spin us one fact at a time.
All right, everybody, welcome to the show today. Today, my guest is Arianne Rowlands. I'm very excited to have her here today. She is the president of the College of Republicans at UC Irvine. She is also a business information management major, as well as a very firm defender of the First Amendment. So I'm going to just start. I wanted to ask you some questions about political views and things like that. So you became part of the Republican College or College of Republicans?
Yeah, I'm the president of College Republicans at University of California, Irvine.
Okay, great. And so what made you kind of get into politics? Was it something that was influenced by your parents, or did you just sort of get into that when you got into school?
I've always been interested in politics. In high school, when the 2012 election was around, I was definitely one of the more vocal kids in my class. But I think that I just saw a bunch of other people who were actually speaking out against political correctness. They were voicing their political views and UCI, really recently, and they encouraged me, to actually get up there and speak my mind. Whereas before, I was a little bit timid to voice my opinions.
Yeah, I bet. And colleges are so liberal these days too. So it's a little odd that you went kind of to the right, to the Republican side, eh?
Well, I mean, I was born and raised in Orange County, which is, I believe, it's one of the biggest Republican counties west of the Mississippi. So I'm in friendly territory here, surrounded by a bunch of blue, but not at UCI. UCI is a very liberal campus because, of course, people come from all over. Especially the administration is liberal, and the professors are resoundingly liberal as well. Conservative ideas on campus are sort of shouted down. They said, "Oh, well, that's just wrong," and people will call you names, be really hostile towards you just for speaking your mind. So I'd seen that behavior a lot, prior to this past school year, my sophomore year, my freshman year. I was rather quiet with my political opinions because I didn't see the worth in voicing them if I was just going to get so much backlash for it.
Right, and I've read and I've heard a lot from some students too that say that if you do express Republican views or kind of right views, that you actually can be graded lower. Your teachers will take that on you. Did you experience that at your school? See that?
Yeah. I had a writing class. The topic with the writing class, it was social justice. So we read a book. The main book of the class was this book where it was America is colorblind, and the Black people in this country are oppressed by the system, especially the prison system. And the prison system is designed to keep them in their poor state and to keep them going back to prison. So it was talking about recidivism rates. And while I'm sure some of that does have a point, that's definitely not the main reason why there are more African Americans being sent to prison, more African Americans committing crimes, more African Americans, being shot by police than other races. So I had to argue a liberal position on there, and I'm sad to say I did use the word bigot. So, that's like a bonus point word. You use the word bigot, you get extra bonus points. I'm sure. That's one of their buzzwords.
Yeah,
but,
no doubt.
But yes, I did have to argue a liberal point. Of course, I didn't agree with it. And I do think that if I would have argued a conservative point on there, I would have definitely have gotten a lower grade. I'm aware of many people who have done that and who have received lower grades for something that they think should have been graded higher.
Right. Yeah, I don't think it's uncommon, that's for sure, from what I can tell. It's unfortunate, but it seems to be the way the campuses are. It seems that the liberals have, I think 90% or something are liberal, so it's pretty high.
Yeah, it's something that we're trying to actually end, me and College Republicans at UC Irvine, because I think I'll talk a little bit about this later, but we had Milo Yiannopoulos at campus, and it was a huge success. It was like a mini Trump rally, and we're having him back again right before the elections. And when I told the administration that he was going to come back again, they suspended our College Republican group for a year because they didn't want him back. And that has now inspired us to go to UC Regents along with the Bernie Sanders Club, and we will be asking for a resolution that says no more political discrimination. Anything, no more discrimination based on political ideology for anyone, the left, the right, everyone in between or outside of that. No more for that. Not just for campus orgs, but for people like you mentioned earlier. They argue a conservative point and they get a lower grade on their essay.
Right. And do you plan to take that argument bigger than just your school? Because I think it's nationwide, or is that just something you're just going to keep at your school, or do you have bigger plans for that?
UC Regents is, we're taking to UC Regents, and they are the body that controls all of the UC schools. So all of the schools in California that belong to the UC system will be affected by that resolution. And since it's such a big, profitable school system, I think that it sets a good precedent for school systems and for young people around the country to do something sort of similar.
That's excellent. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that, because it's concerning for me that the schools are that way and that our youth are being indoctrinated with liberal values, and they come out, they go in open-minded and they come out very closed-minded. So
yeah, exactly, because there's college is the place where you're supposed to develop your mind, develop your opinions, become more well-rounded. Every single college will say something to that effect, when they're trying to advertise to get you to come to their college. Oh, we pride ourselves on our ability to produce well-rounded, intelligent people. But that's really not what's happening. That's just what they're saying. That's the image you're trying to project. What they do is they take young kids, they bring them in there, they only present them with one side to every story, which is the side of the left. And those kids, after having been only exposed to, the left point of view on things, will probably, and it has been this way, come out, believing in leftist values. And I think that's wrong. I think that people should be exposed to both left and right or middle ideas and forms of expression, and should be able to decide for themselves what they think is best for them.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I've seen some crazy things too. Like I spent a fair amount of time researching this stuff, and I've seen, the safe rooms, and they got the cats and the furry things to cuddle and hug. And this is just when they have a conservative speaker on campus, mm-hmm. and they have to go into these rooms and they can't even handle it. And I've seen another case where a liberal woman was sitting next to a conservative, and she had to get him to move because she knew he was thinking things that she didn't like. So I mean, it's just it's out of control what's going on out there. So yeah.
I mean, people will say, well, you've just said that word, and I think that word is racist, so you've committed an act of violence against me.
Right.
It's absolutely insane. There's no way words in themselves can be acts of violence. Words can call for acts of violence, but specifically saying you are this or I think this is wrong is not an act of violence.
Exactly. Yeah. So talking to crazy, then is there what's kind of the craziest thing you've seen from the left at your school, other than what we're going to talk about your band? But is there anything else, like you seen any other kind of crazy movements on campus there that you want to share something?
There's a club on campus called the Feminist Illuminati. I think that's pretty entertaining.
Milo's favorite.
They're not self-conscious at all. That it's the nature of the joke. It's really sad to see what feminism has become.
Yeah, I mean, it started out with such a good cause, and it's evolved to this third wave where they're just lunatics now, really.
I completely agree. All these fake allegations of rape, that's more of an epidemic on college campuses than the actual rape culture. I don't think that there's a rape culture. That would be to say that we're promoting rape on college campuses, which is absolutely not true. I think that there's a lack of due process for the side of the accused, but I also think that depending on the situation, the victim isn't treated properly either. So it's a very slippery, very complicated situation that I think people need to definitely see both sides of to actually understand how to fix it.
Yeah, I would agree. Like it's a very serious topic, but the way that these feminists have driven these numbers, now it's 1 in 4, and that's just like living in a third world, war haven country. You see numbers like that. So I mean, it can't be true. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. Where there needs to be a process. They need to be believed, And it's a serious issue, but they're blowing it up to make it sound like, women can't walk around on a campus when really I think campuses are pretty safe. So.
Yeah, I think that when we have our own police force specifically for the campus, it's a pretty safe environment, especially UCI. UCI is, I think it's the safest city in America. Irvine is the safest city in America. Which really brings to light the ridiculousness of some of these claims from the left, is that Milo Yiannopoulos coming to campus has created this unsafe environment. He's infringing on my safe space. His words are acts of violence against me. And these kids whine about privilege, but they don't actually realize that they're coming from objectively, they're a really privileged place to be residing in, the safest city in America, but yet claiming about being unsafe.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy. Well, now that we're chatting about Milo, how did you find Milo? Where did you initially see him? I mean, he's obviously a highly influential guy these days. He's very popular. He's just, his star is rising, and he'd probably say it's already risen. But I mean, he just keeps growing in popularity. So how did you locate him? Where did you find him?
I'd seen a few videos, floating around the internet before I'd actually, considered bringing him to UC Irvine. I always thought he was entertaining. I didn't back then necessarily agree with some of the stuff that he was saying, though I did agree with a lot of it, specifically when he says things that are true that not a lot of people like to talk about because other people will consider it offensive. I think he's one of the best people on the planet for saying sort of things like that. Initially at UC Irvine, we wanted to bring Ben Shapiro, believe it or not. As funny as that is, yeah, Ben Shapiro, because Ben and Milo are in a little bit of a feud right now.
Right.
But we wanted to bring Ben Shapiro because UC Irvine has an apartheid week, which is basically anti-Israel, anti-Zionist week. So we wanted to bring Ben to give a little bit of a pushback on that. Right. But Ben was not available because he was having his first kid, I believe. So then we were like, well, we should definitely get somebody else to come to campus. And somebody suggested Milo, and I reached out to Milo, and the rest is history.
Yeah, I stumbled across Milo very similar. I think it might have been Twitter video or something. I started watching him, and so I mean, he's been fun to watch progress. He's gotten better, like his hair. I don't know. Do you remember when he had kind of that orangey hair, and he's kind of evolved?
Yes, I've seen pictures.
So his hair was terrible, and now his hair's looking pretty good. He's evolved, and his speaking's evolved, and he's just really he's fun to listen to. Yeah, but a very, very controversial. He says some things that sometimes make you cringe, but usually there's truth behind everything that he's talking about.
Usually there's truth behind everything that he says. You're right, and I don't agree with him 100% on necessarily everything.
Right.
I agree with him a lot, but not on some of the things. But I think that his specific talent that is unique to him, besides who he is as a person, and the reason why he's so successful is because he takes these politically apathetic college kids and makes them interested, evokes an emotional reaction from them, whether it be with or against him, and gets them involved in politics and gets them interested. And that is something that people are, especially Republicans, especially conservatives, are having trouble with, is getting the young people involved. And Milo has a knack at that. He's absolutely brilliant. 1,000 people came to his talk at UC Irvine when we only had 200 seats. We had to turn away, about 800 of them. And the talk went off without a hitch. It was fantastic. He was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I think he's kind of made being a conservative cool. Do you know what I mean? I think that's what's
part of it.
Yeah, like the young kids that you say he brings into it. I think he's made it a cool thing to do again, and he's also somebody that doesn't want to lose. And conservatives have been losing for so long that it's been very difficult to even want to talk up. I mean, they've kind of been quieted and bullied into silence by liberals. So now you got this blonde gay guy coming along and standing up to everybody and speaking his mind and making it cool. And I think it's been great. It's a almost like a movement, really. And then you got Trump coming in at the same time. So what happened when you did book him? So obviously people at the school knew. Was there immediate backlash? Did they immediately try and stop it, or how did that happen?
The first time we put up posters, they called me into their office and they said, Ariana, we're very disappointed with what you're saying on these posters. And the posters were Milo Yiannopoulos quotes, so you can imagine what they were like. One of them said, "Make America gay again." Another one said something about being a dangerous faggot. The gender pay gap isn't real. Some things along those lines. But people were upset and they were complaining about them. And the school sent a school-wide email from the Office of Multiculturalism and Inclusion, or something along those lines, saying there's been some very, very homophobic posters posted around campus recently, guys, and we advise you all to take some safe zone training for just in case you're affected by this. So everyone was urged to take safe zone training because of just posters promoting Milo's.
That's a real thing, safe zone training?
Yes, it is. It's how to be inclusive towards people who are not like you.
Wow. Is it mandatory?
No, it's just something they offer.
Okay.
It's very amusing. I found it very funny. Of course, that only encouraged us to continue with the poster making, which did not make the left very happy.
So, okay, so you're bringing him in. Now, I heard something about a fee. Did they add this before he came, or when did this fee get added? Or am I remembering it wrong?
Yeah. The day before the event, no, I'm sorry. It was the day of the event. They say, oh, well, you guys are hosting this with outside organizations, so we're going to add $850 onto your event fees. And we're like, what? We're just hosting this by ourselves. It was just college Republicans, nobody else. So they didn't, right off the bat, there was no due process. There was no investigation. It was, oh, we've heard some rumors, so we're going to tack on an almost $1,000 fee that you guys will not be able to procure. We contested it, and they removed it immediately.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, you seem to stand up right away. Eh? You don't take shit from anybody. Eh?
I don't take shit. Nobody left, nobody right. Don't care who you are. If you're giving me crap and I don't think it's fair, or you giving my friends crap and I don't think it's fair, you bet I'm going to say something about it. That's
great. I love it. Okay, so now you bring Milo in. I've watched the videos with him there, and I watched the whole thing. It was a really good talk and everything. I think you guys were lucky too, because yours wasn't interrupted like the one before DePaul, I think it was, where they didn't really get a chance to do anything. So you had the trouble outside, but once everybody got in, everything went pretty good.
We knew there was going to be trouble beforehand, so we wanted to take precautions to make sure that our event wasn't going to be disrupted, because the most important thing is getting Milo to speak, is getting that message out there. While protests and stuff may be fun, maybe attention grabbing, that's not really why we invited him, was to have a protest. It was so people could hear him speak and hear what he has to say. So we met with the UCIPD, and the UCIPD was very helpful and did a spectacular job protecting that event. There was 50 protesters to start. By the end of the event, there was 200. Several times I was told, if you do this, or if Milo does that, we're going to have to cancel the event because we cannot ensure anyone's safety anymore. So it was a very precarious situation that we were in, and I'm really glad that we were able to pull it off. We had bomb sniffing dogs check out the room before anyone was allowed inside. We had riot police. Once there was more than 100 protesters, they called them in from the surrounding cities around Irvine. And all in all, there was about 100 police officers there trying to keep the peace, and they did.
Wow, that's, you don't see that on the video. 100 police people called in from the area because these people are that dangerous. Yeah.
It's a very anti-police school. There was a petition a few months before from the Black Student Union saying, oh, well, police are oppressive, and the institution of police officers is inherently racist. So by being police on campus, we do not feel safe, and we are entitled to feel safe here because we pay so much money. So we would like to abolish the police force at UC Irvine. And that did gain a lot of traction. A lot of people who protest our event and who protest Israel events are shouting, down with the police, or, something about pigs, or these cop supporters have to go. It's a very, very anti-police sentiment.
And we wonder why cops are getting shot today when our kids are being raised to hear that every day in school. So.
Oh no, I definitely think it's the ideology of Black Lives Matter and the sort of rhetoric that Obama's put out there, which falsely depicts cops as racist pigs and evil people who are out to get blacks. He says it in a very slippery way. He doesn't say it directly, but unless you're stupid, you know exactly what he's trying to say. So he's inciting all of this, and I think that especially all the cop deaths in Dallas and in Baton Rouge, those are on his hands.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the stats that he laid out before the Dallas shootings were so misleading.
It was ridiculous.
It was like,
yes,
wow, I can't believe he did that. There's no need for that. And then if you're going to do it, then share all the stats, not just the ones that make the police look terrible.
Side.
Yeah.
That's what the left does. That's what the left does.
Yeah,
they'll present facts and then they'll spin them to make them, favorable to them, but then they'll neglect to mention other certain facts which give you the whole picture. And that's what's good about conservatives. Conservatives usually are pretty good about giving both sides of the story, the facts that do support their opinion and the facts that don't.
Yeah. I find if you disagree with conservatives, they're a little more open to listening. They don't resort to name calling right away or silencing you or blocking you or whatever. So they seem to be more reasonable. But so I guess jumping back to this Milo thing. So Milo came, did his thing. You went to rebook him, and then your college, did you get banned after you rebooked him, or how did that ban come down?
The administration requested to meet with me 18 days after the conclusion of the Milo event, and they said, we just want to debrief you on what happened, see if there's anything we can do to improve. How did you like the way that they went? What did you think? So I answered a bunch of their questions, and then they asked me if I was going to be doing anything else, this upcoming year. And I said, yeah, Milo is going to be coming back for the election. And then 4 hours after I tell them that, which, by the way, that one of them said, I'm not very happy to hear that, Ariana.
No
so
doubt.
4 hours after the conclusion of that meeting, one of my officers gets an email saying, your college Republican group has been suspended for an entire year because you didn't file a proof of insurance, which, we were never asked to file, nor made aware of the existence of such a need for a proof of insurance.
Right, and apparently it's not uncommon that the liberal groups don't do that either, and you were sort of targeted on that, right?
Oh, yeah. So Students for Justice in Palestine, which is the sister club of the Muslim Student Union, I've looked at their records for the last 5 years, and they have committed about 7 or so contractual infractions that are blatant. There are others that, it could be a contractual infraction, but I'm only going to talk about the ones that I can prove. None of those have been punished. There's other things that are dubious in there, like they use school funds for an anti-Semitism event, and if you use school funds for a certain event, it has to, for whatever the thing that they did in that certain area, it has to adhere to school values. So UCI might have admitted that they don't like Jews by funding that in that specific structure.
Wow, that's crazy. I didn't. You don't hear that, you don't hear about that kind of stuff on the news, eh? It's just crazy.
No, it's because the liberal media doesn't want you to hear it. They want everyone to think, it's a happy time here, UC Irvine doesn't want it to get out either because they want the Jewish students to come to their schools, and Jewish people are really successful, and they tend to donate to schools, and they want the Jewish people's money.
Right.
So they don't want that getting out either.
So they put the ban down, and then obviously I heard about it because Milo was tweeting it, and I think he had Breitbart. He wrote an article on Breitbart, published it right away, and then the ban got lifted. Do you think it gets lifted if without that attention, or would you have been able to get it lifted? What's your thoughts on that?
Absolutely not. No, I wouldn't. I would have gotten attention no matter what, because I guess, like I mentioned before, I call people out for when they do sketchy things, but. No, Milo was absolutely instrumental into getting our ban overturned because he let the world know about what was happening. And it just serves as an example for this type of stuff that college administrations do and think that they can get away with. UC Irvine thought they would get away with this. They thought wrong, but they did think that. And they thought several times, they backtracked a few times. It was, no, you're not suspended. You just can't book room, hold events, hold meeting, host speakers. And then after that, it was, please submit an appeal, Ariana, and we'll probably overturn it. to which I said, absolutely not, because that would be an admittance to wrongdoing we didn't commit. And after that, it was, your ban has been lifted temporarily pending your appeal. And to which I said again, no appeal. And then they said, oh, well, it turns out after looking upon our rules and regulations, we didn't follow protocol by banning you. We were supposed to give you a warning first. So we're sorry about that. And they gave us a warning. And that's that for that specific case. But we're still not happy. We're, like I mentioned before, we're taking it to UC Regents, and we're going to be asking them for a resolution saying no more discrimination based on political philosophy.
Right. Well, that's good. Yeah, I think that needs to happen. The more people need to stand up and do that for sure. Well, that's good. I'm glad you got that lifted. I'm glad Milo's going to come back. That's going to be an interesting powder keg when he comes back. I would expect you might even see more protesters now that it's more news, eh? Yeah,
definitely. It's going to be huge. It's going to be anywhere between 2,000 and 5,000 people. We have a massive venue. It's going to be like a rally, so we're going to have him back right before the elections to get people excited to vote Republican, excited to vote for Trump. So it's an outdoor venue.
Oh, nice.
So it's going to be a little bit harder to keep the protesters at bay.
Right.
But I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be great, and I think that it's going to be probably the biggest thing that he'll do on his tour.
Excellent. Sounds fun. I might have to make the trip for that one. That sounds,
do that.
Sounds
yes.
like it'll be a good time. So you brought up Trump. So let's talk election a little bit here. So I'm assuming you're voting Trump?
Definitely. Absolutely. I think that he can actually make America great again. I think that he cares a lot about America, and unlike Hillary, who is running for president out of self-interest and is completely bought and paid for, Trump is running for president because he truly has a love for the country, and he actually genuinely wants to make this country great again. And there's sort of an honesty about Trump that you don't really get that vibe from a lot of politicians, and the way he speaks is he speaks to you like an equal. I've actually met him. I've had a little conversation with him, and I was sort of amazed and humbled at the fact that he didn't act like this polished politician. He was just speaking to you like I'm speaking to you now.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people say about Trump, and it's funny because there's so many people hate Trump, and I think they hate Trump because he does come across as arrogant, I guess, and I think he does have an ego. I think anybody that runs for president he has an ego. Like I think Barack Obama is like a super narcissist, but Trump has this like I don't know, call it nice or what it is, but you look at his kids and the way he's raised his children and what type of people they are, and I think Trump has a very tough side to him, but I also think he's a very genuine, nice person too. And I think the problem is the media doesn't ever portray any of that side of him. They just always portray kind of the brash side of him. And if the media would just show what kind of person he was, he probably would just be killing Hillary in the polls, right?
Yeah, I think that Trump is portrayed in a very negative light by the media. That's obviously not a very insightful statement
right.
to say, but it's true. I think that Donald Trump, to be as successful as he has been in the field of business, that you need to be a certain specific type of ruthless, and you also need to be a certain specific type of intelligent and tough. But I think I get the impression, at least, that he always keeps his morals and his principles in his mind and doesn't throw them to the wind. And I think that's something that not a lot of people understand, is that, it's a leadership position. And when you're in a leadership position, you need to make difficult choices. And sometimes, there's not a good choice to make. So you have to make the choice that's the lesser of the two evils, I guess.
Right.
And that's sort of indicative of the actual election itself, where people don't really feel like Trump represents them, and they don't really feel like Hillary represents them, and they don't know what to do. And at the end of it, and at the end of the day, it comes down between Trump and Hillary. A third party vote is a vote into the trash can. You throw your vote
right.
into the trash can when you vote third party. So people are faced with a choice, and they don't want to make the choice, and instead they'll they'll do something like Never Trump, or they'll do like a Green Party vote or something like that, because they can't make the difficult decisions. Everyone
Right.
needs to step up and make a difficult decision, because either you want Hillary Clinton for president or you want Donald Trump for president, and there's no other choice.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, I lean more conservative, but I mean, even if I was liberal, I could not vote for Hillary just on a morality issue. And I say this all the time. I tell people, if you're voting for Hillary, either you don't believe everything about her that's true, that it's out there and everywhere, or you're morally bankrupt. Like, I just couldn't bring myself to vote for her, even if I agreed with all her policies, just because of the type of human she is. Like, I can't fathom how anybody's voting for her. So it's frustrating for me to watch people talk about getting behind her.
I honestly think she's a horrible person, and you're right. She has no morals whatsoever, and I think that a lot of people are voting her, frankly, because she's a woman.
Right.
And if you look at that argument's very, very easy to dismantle and disarm, because Hillary Clinton is not a pro-woman candidate. Even though she is a woman, Hillary Clinton, through her actions, has absolutely destroyed the lives of Bill Clinton's victims, or alleged victims,
Right.
for the ones that can't be proven. So she worked against them, destroyed them, and they're victims of sexual assault. And if you're a woman and if you're anybody and you destroy victims of sexual assault, proven victims of sexual assault, you cannot turn around and say that you are a friend to women, because that's absolutely impossible for you to do those two things and be a friend to women. So while Donald Trump may say questionable things about women, things that might make you cringe on occasion, those are only things that he said. Hillary
Right.
Clinton has actually done things against women.
And the thing that is always lost with the Trump issue, too, is that Trump is that vicious to everybody. It doesn't matter. He's even. He's fair right across the board, whether you're a guy, girl, child, whatever. I mean, if he's going to be angry at you, he's going to attack anybody. So I don't find him anti-women at all, to be honest. I mean, I've studied the man, I've read his books, I've paid attention to him for 20 plus years, and I don't see anything from him. Even going way back when, I mean, he was promoting women in his company and moving them up within his company. He loved women and he was a playboy and all that kind of stuff. He was a man, right? But I don't see any anti-women stuff out of him. Yeah, he hates a few women who fight with him. And yeah, I think that's a sign of respect, though, because he doesn't handle them with kid gloves. He treats them as an equal. So.
Yeah, but then the women will come back and say, oh, well, he wasn't nice to me, or he said this and that, and
Right.
That's misogyny. That he should treat me special. He
Right.
shouldn't say things that are mean to me because I'm a woman. And that's that's right there in a nutshell is feminism of today and how it's regressive.
Yeah.
If women truly want to be treated equal, then they need to be treated equal on every single aspect. And I think that women should be treated equal on every aspect. That's not what I'm trying to say, but that also means that you need to be treated equally on the negative stuff, which includes insults, as well as the positive stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's got to be fair across the board. And I think Trump displays that. The media likes to play it up, but what are you going to do? I guess another question I was going to ask you is, what do you think of the Pence pick? So that's sort of brand new news. So what's your thoughts on that?
Initially, I didn't really know too much about Pence. I saw that he'd supported TPP, and I saw that he used to be a Ted Cruz supporter, and he didn't support the Muslim ban. So initially, that did rub me the wrong way. But I think that, after thinking about it a little bit more, after listening to Donald Trump's and Pence's speech that they just gave earlier this week, that I think he was a good pick. I think he was a smart pick for several reasons. One of them being that he has the support of the establishment, which is obviously a place where Trump does not have very much support at the moment. It's getting better, but I think that the fact that he used to support Cruz and now support Trump is a good example and a good model for other people who are in the same boat. I also think that Trump probably would have liked to pick somebody different. That's my personal opinion. But it was the smart pick, this was the pick that was advised to him. And I think that this shows that he can take advice from other people. And that's sort of a narrative that's been pushed around, is that, oh, Trump doesn't listen to anyone. Trump doesn't do this. If anyone gives him advice, he's just not going to listen. He's going to do what he wants to do anyway. And I think that this pick is indicative of the fact that, no, that's not necessarily true. And Trump will listen to people as long as they've got a good idea and a good reasoning behind it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think you nailed that one. And I think Pence, it's interesting because I don't know that Pence, well, obviously I don't think he did know, but when he endorsed Ted Cruz, it was called the worst endorsement during the election cycle because he went on the radio. He talked about how awesome Trump really was for 5 minutes. And then he said, and then, oh yeah, I'm going to vote for Cruz. So it was kind of like he really talked highly of Trump, and then he said he was supporting Cruz. So it was one of the worst endorsements. And that probably saved him and let him get this VP pick, because I think if he had gone on and been hard on Trump, I don't know that he would have been selected this time. So it's very interesting how that played out. Who would be your pick? Let's say you could pick. Who's your guy?
Marco Rubio.
Marco
I used
Rubio.
to support Marco before he dropped out. I really, really admire Marco Rubio, and I admire his spirit, and I agree with most of the things that come out of his mouth. I think that he's been a good senator. I think that he definitely stands up for the things that he believes in, and he knows his way around Congress. I would have picked Marco Rubio, but that's just because I have a preference. I'm biased.
You share very, very similar opinions to me, because I had almost the exact same feeling on Pence, and I would have wanted Rubio too. Probably would have been my pick. I predicted Newt for months. That was my prediction, but that was just because Rubio and Trump were so ugly. I didn't see that being a possibility. But
no, and Rubio, shot that down. He's running for re-election in the Senate, and we need him in the Senate. So,
exactly. Yeah.
So I think that was a good decision in the end. But
yeah, no, I think it's going to work out.
I just like Rubio.
Yeah, I do too, and I think Rubio, if he can get back in the Senate and accomplish some things there, that maybe he's the future of the party still yet. So there's some chance there.
Yeah, I definitely think he's going to be president one day.
Yeah, I think he's definitely got a shot at it. Let's talk a little bit about another difficult topic is the immigrations, the Syrian refugee things that are going on. What is it like on colleges for that? Like, are there refugees, immigrants at your school? Do you see them? Do you hear about it? Are you a racist and xenophobe the minute you talk about it? Tell me about that.
I've been called racist and xenophobic, but I think there are people who are very sympathetic to Syrian refugees at UC Irvine. I would say the majority of people there are sympathetic, but I do sense a change now that they're seeing, the stuff that's happening in France, the stuff that happens in Germany, the stuff that happens, here at home. I think that people are starting to wake up and to see the danger of Islam. And I don't mean it as a way as in saying, oh, well, the entire religion of Islam is bad. I think that certain people, when people say, oh, well, not the moderate Muslims, those people that they consider moderate Muslims are actually progressive Muslims. The majority of Muslims in the United States, those are progressive. I have no problem with them whatsoever. One of my best friends, here comes the cliche, but one of my best friends is actually a progressive Muslim.
Right.
But we disagree on a lot of things, but there's several statistics that show light to the fact that the majority, it's not a small minority of Muslims who believe things that we as Westerners consider radical. It's actually I would say close to half. I actually have some statistics here. I keep like a little handy book of statistics in my notes.
Yeah. It's really high, independent on the country, but yeah, it's if you got some stats, go ahead and shoot them up. But yeah, it's I've spent a lot of time on this topic, and it's ridiculous how many supposed moderate Muslims still think that gays should be killed, and marriage should be legal, and you can hit your wife, and all these different things, and they're living right here in the country, and they're trying to get Sharia law courts set up, and so it's scary.
Yeah, I think it's a little concerning. You see what's happening in Britain specifically. Our sister, our mother country, and their culture, Britain's culture is really similar to ours, and they're sort of being taken over, I guess I'd say, in some parts. I use a little bit of stats where 40% of British Muslims want Sharia in the UK, and 20% of those sympathize with suicide bombers. That's from an ICM poll. Right. And then a study by Wenzel Strategies in 2012 showed that 58% of Muslim Americans believe criticism of Islam or Muhammad is not protected free speech under the First Amendment, which means that if you say criticism, you can be legally punished for that.
Right.
45% believe mockers of Islam should face criminal charges. 12% of Muslim Americans believe blaspheming Islam should be punishable by death. And 32% of Muslims in America believe that Sharia should be the supreme law of the land. It's just a bunch more statistics like this where, worse in the Middle East, where these Muslims are either tolerating or are supportive of radical ideologies that is simply just not compatible
Right.
with our Western culture.
And those
they want to
statistics.
bring them here.
Yeah, and the statistics you cited are coming from the most progressive, the nicest bunch of Muslims, because we can't even get stats from the really bad countries. So, it's scary to think that we want to bring some of the people from some of these even worse third world countries, Islamic states, where their percentage is much higher, it's 90, 95, 99% in some of those places on those views. And so it's crazy. And I think you might be right. I mean, about the fact that people are starting to catch on. The only kind of way I can sort of tell is on Twitter when I post about this kind of stuff. I'm not getting attacked as quickly or as harshly by the liberals. So they seem to at least be not as adamantly arguing it. So I don't know how far along they are in the agreeing that it's going to be a concern, but that's my gauge, is that I'm not attacked so harshly right now. They seem to be at least holding their tongue. So maybe that's a step forward. I don't know.
I think people are starting to wake up, and I think that's why Donald Trump is going to win come November, is because you see all these problems with radical Islam and with Black Lives Matter and just with general disorder throughout this country. And you see what's happening on other countries in the world is a chaos right now. But Donald Trump is the candidate of law and order. Donald Trump will restore law. He will respect our cops. He will respect, like just the way that our laws were made. He's going to respect that, and he's going to enforce the order. And I think that people are starting to realize, well, maybe my safety is more important to me than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, global warming's great, but it's not the number one threat right now to people in the U.S. So
it's not. It's certainly not an imminent threat.
No, it's definitely.
It's not something we need to deal with right now. That takes priority over everything else. Right now, I think that we need to deal with principally radical Islam, and then I think something that's also very important is addressing this sort of anti-cop sentiments that are, resulting in all these officers across the United States being shot.
Exactly. Did you happen to catch Hillary's speech today?
I did not, no.
Yeah, so she sort of, like, Obama was smart yesterday, he kind of kept his mouth shut. He didn't do the lecture thing, but Hillary got up on her soapbox today and started out saying all the right things, but then she kind of went down the path Obama did, where she, was calling out the police and lecturing the police and telling them that, that the racism exists and she's going to stop it and we need to fix, so I just find that a terrible thing to do, the day after they die. You know what? If you want to have that conversation, don't have it today, like you wait a week or something, right? So I find it kind of almost disgusting, really, that she does that and Obama does that. And you mentioned earlier that you think, Obama is kind of complicit in it, and I agree. I think that rhetoric that they spread, I mean, Obama's been doing it for 8 years. He's been basically saying the cops are racist, terrible, baboon fools for 8 years. And it's surprising it's taken this long, actually, for this to start happening, because you got the president really almost kind of winking, saying, yeah, go ahead. So
3.5 or close to 3,500 people have died in his
Chicago.
home city.
Yeah,
in Chicago, since he's taken office, and that's 3,500 blacks, excuse me, because of that sort of rhetoric, I would say, where he doesn't bring attention to the fact that 3,500 people are dying, and while maybe a few hundred people a year are shot by cops, and while some of them were actually breaking the law while they were being shot, there's very few innocent people shot by cops a year,
right?
And you cannot compare the amount of unjust deaths at the hands of a police officer to the amount of unjust deaths at the hands of other blacks.
Yeah, and I mean the worst cop shooting I've seen in the last I don't know 3 months or something was that white kid Dylan Noble, or was his name? Whatever. I think that's like the most blatant one. I mean, the body cam got released the other day. It made it look a little bit better, but I mean these other situations, the guy was wrestling with the police. If he did have a gun in his waistband, and then the other guy had a gun on his knee, and cops are jumpy. So it's not like these police are just walking up to a black man who's standing around doing nothing, and he's got his hands in the air and they're shooting them. But that's the way they're like the whole fraud that was perpetuated about hands up, don't shoot, right? And it's disappointing that the president and these liberals are furthering that rhetoric and causing this big divide, because there's not. I mean, the stats. Twice as many white people were shot, and blacks are in 3 times more violent crimes. Yeah, there's less of them, but they're 3 times more likely to be in a violent situation. And so, I mean, the numbers are pretty much dead even. There's no difference, and psychologically, you're a lot more likely for a cop to shoot you if you're white than black, because they're going to pause an extra second if you're black, because they know the consequence. So this conversation is just blown out of proportion, in my opinion.
Well, only 13% of Americans are black, and out of those 13%, 6% of Americans are black men,
right.
And it's the men who are committing the crime. It's not the women. But these 6% of the American population account for 52% of violent crimes.
Right.
So of course they're going to be in contact with police more often than anybody else, is because they're committing the crimes more often, and that's really why that we see more blacks, proportionately being shot by police, is because they're far more likely to be in contact with a police officer or committing a crime.
Right,
and it's not something that's racist. If you look at the statistics for unarmed blacks and unarmed whites shot by police, it's at 3%. So both of them,
right?
So, they're being shot unarmed at exactly the same rate.
Right, and there's way more white people. So, well, I'm actually no, the number you gave is percentage-wise. So yeah, it's identical. And not a single protest in Chicago or Baltimore or any of these places where these young black kids are just being murdered in the street. So not one Black Lives Matter protest. So
Black lives don't matter to Black Lives Matter, as Milo so expertly put it. Because if they did, they would be focusing more on these issues than on focusing on police officers.
Right, and they drive the narrative too, where you can't say all lives matter without somebody being offended. Like that is, like the country is so screwed up. If you hang up an American flag, people are offended. If you say all lives matter, people are offended. It's just in a ridiculous place. What has happened under the Obama administration is really unbelievable. If you go back 8 years and think about what has changed, and what people's priorities are these days, it's very sad, really.
It's because, in America, we don't really have to deal with certain struggles that other people in other countries have to deal with. My mother came from Mexico, so she grew up, and she grew up in a very poor family. She lived in a labor camp until she lived in a labor camp here in the United States after her family immigrated over from Mexico, up until she went to college, and she worked in the fields, and she had to really work hard for the things that she got. She graduated with a bachelor's degree in chemistry, and she lived the American dream. And so she understands the opportunities afforded to her by living in America, by being an American. And I think that a lot of these people, especially the people on the left, sort of take that for granted, and they sort of lose sight of the really important issues because they don't have to worry about them. They don't have to worry about going to school and getting an education. They don't have to worry about homelessness or in most parts of America, gang violence or cartel violence or something like that. So they're afforded the opportunity to focus on things that don't matter, like I think that comment was racist, or
right.
you must call me by my preferred pronouns, which is Z, or or my gender fluidity is this and that. Those things really don't matter in the scale of things. And I think that Americans are misguided.
They've got nothing to really be upset about, so they're just looking for a way to create a problem. So it's pathetic. So you're
bunch of spoiled whiners is what the youth left are.
Yeah, no doubt. So you're half Mexican,
yes,
Hispanic?
I'm half Mexican and I'm half Welsh. My dad came from Wales.
Okay, that's good. So your mother obviously came across. Did she come across to do it all legal?
Yeah, back then it was all legal. So she got her green card and everything on the same day.
So what does she think about the wall?
She supports it.
She supports it.
She's a bigger Donald Trump fan than I am, if that's even possible.
Crazy.
She's very supportive of the wall. She loves Mexico. She loves their people, but she also understands that if you want to come over, you have to come over legally. And
right.
That's a fundamental principle. Is you have to abide of being an American. You have to abide by our laws. You have to abide by our culture, and that means that you have to come over legally.
Yeah, exactly. And I find it ironic that Hillary and Obama are so hard on Trump over the wall when it was Hillary actually voted for the wall, and their money's already been approved for the wall, and Obama has been a part of that too. So it's ironic the liberals are making such a big deal about it when it's already been discussed. It's just never been made a priority. It's never been finished. So, it's nothing new, but they're making it into this, big deal because Trump actually wants to follow through with what they already agreed to. So, but it also is intuitive of like the issues that African Americans are having, because all of these illegals coming over are taking jobs and driving them into poverty, and those could be jobs they had and more money they could be earning and helping their families. And it's just ironic how the Democrats twist these things and cast blame to the right and to the Republicans for them creating kind of a welfare states really for these people.
I certainly agree. They'll come over here and they'll be afforded benefits. You can get a free ride if you're an illegal immigrant here to college. Meanwhile, hardworking Americans like myself have to take out tens of thousands of dollars of student loans and be crippled with all this debt just because we were born an American and they were born an immigrant, broke our laws, come over here and then are getting special privileges.
Yeah, it's crazy how it works, right? So I don't know. I think fundamentally, this needs to all kind of turn around back in the colleges, and that's kind of takes us back to the beginning of the conversation. Is like, are colleges getting better? Do you think are conservatives getting a voice more now? Like, obviously you've got a big voice. You stand up for yourself. So if you could remove yourself from the equation and look at it as an outside observer, do you think progress is being made by other people in this regard?
I think that it's certainly possible. I think that it's starting to happen now. It's a series of young people from the right have started standing up, and I think that other people need to start standing up as well. Whereas before they were too timid, too scared to do so. I think that they'll find that if they do stand up for themselves and for what they believe in, especially when their rights have been infringed upon, that they'll find a lot of friends, and they'll find a lot of people willing to help, and a lot of other people who are passionate about the cause who and in the end they'll win, because when your rights are being infringed upon, there's no way you're going to lose that.
Right. And I think too the racist bigot terminology is just worn out to the point it doesn't mean anything. Basically, if you were a conservative and you spoke up, they could shame you into silence, and everybody bullied up on you, and you couldn't do anything. You'd lose your job or whatever, right? And now I think that things are slowly turning where you can, when somebody just labels you as a racist, now you don't even need to answer it. Like, I don't even respond to it. If somebody calls me a racist on Twitter, I don't even respond to it anymore. I just keep going because I just feel it's overused and it doesn't mean anything anymore. And it's just tired. And I think that's one of the reasons people are able to kind of speak up again.
I think it is overused as well. It's sort of lost its meaning. You can be a racist if you're wearing a specific color shoe or something like that, or you do your hairstyle a specific way, or you can be a racist for anything.
Did you see Justin Timberlake get destroyed on Twitter for the better?
Oh yeah, he was like supporting black people in the
right.
He didn't support us the right way, so that's racist. Like please.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what the left has done is they've eaten themselves, really. I mean, they've taken their own allies and chewed them up and eaten them, and that's caused a great divide, which is given the right an opportunity to rise up again and try and step forward and have their voices heard again. So
yes, I thank them. I thank them for their ineptitude.
yes, no
And
doubt.
they're certainly giving us a lot of opportunities that we can use, and it's a lot of fun watching them eat themselves, like you said.
No doubt. Well, so what's next for you? You're in school? What's your goal in life? Where you headed?
I'm going to graduate from UC Irvine with a degree in business information management in 2018. And I hope to become a business analyst to start a career. I'll always be involved in politics. I think maybe 4 years from now, or I might run for like some central committee position, something like that. I'll always be involved. I love doing politics, and if things work out well, and things permitting, I would like to run for a bigger office someday. I think that. That politics is something that it's always going to stick with me. I'm always going to be there on the front lines.
Right. How old are you right now? Can I ask that question?
Yes, I won't lie. I'm 19.
Oh, you're 19. Wow, you are young. You're very bright. Okay. Yeah, you've got a great future. Like, you're very well spoken. You know the topics very well. You're not somebody that's scared or stays quiet or lets people's abuse silence you. So yeah, I think it would be a good career for you to look at. Definitely drive some change and make a difference.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm here for. That's why I got involved in College Republicans. I wanted to help people. I wanted to make a change, and been getting some results. So that's always rewarding. And I think that's just what I want to do. Is I just want to make things a little bit better.
Right.
That's tiny bit better for people.
Well, that's great. I'm blown away. You're 19. Not that you look 22 or 23, but the maturity and the growth. I thought, for sure you had to be like 22 or something. So that's crazy. So yeah, that's amazing. Well, I mean, I really love chatting with you. I'd probably love to have you back someday for maybe this like some roundtables where we'll have some other people on and just talking. There's going to be lots happening over the election, so I think it would be great to have you back. But I really appreciate your time today.
Oh yeah, I'd love to be back. No problem. Thank you for having me on.
Great. Well, thanks very much. You have a great day, and we will talk to you very soon.